The vanishing act, the hunt, and the Void War Chief Zixtar stood on the command deck of the Draconian battlecruiser, Crimson Talon, his scaled hands gripping the railing as he stared into the endless black of space. The Kepler 4842 system stretched. Before them, a collection of barren worlds orbiting a dying star. This sector had been quiet for months, until today. War Chief. Lieutenant Vexron called from his station, his voice carrying the sharp edge that came with unexpected discoveries. Long-range sensors are detecting an anomaly. Unknown vessel, bearing 27 Mark IV, approximately 50,000 kilometers from our position. Zixtar's amber eyes narrowed. The Draconian Empire had claimed this territory 3 cycles ago, and no ships should be operating here without authorization. Configuration? Appears to be humanoid in design, sir. Roughly the size of a standard cargo freighter. No weapons signatures detected, but... Vexran paused, his forked tongue flicking nervously. It's not responding to our hails. The War Chief moved to the tactical display, his massive frame casting shadows across the bridge crew. At 8 feet tall with natural armor plating and retractable claws, Zixtar was intimidating even by Draconian standards. He had earned his position through countless battles against the various species that dared challenge the Empire's expansion. "Show me," he commanded. The main screen flickered to life, displaying a 3-dimensional representation of the detected vessel. It was indeed small compared to Draconian warships, perhaps 200 meters in length with the boxy utilitarian design that humans seemed to favor. Nothing about it appeared threatening, yet something felt wrong. "Energy readings?" Zixtar asked. "Minimal, sir. Basic life support and propulsion only. No shield generators, no weapon systems charging. It appears to be disabled, perhaps." Zixtar studied the readings more carefully. Humans were known throughout the galaxy for their unpredictability. While most species followed logical patterns of behavior, humans seemed to thrive on chaos and innovation. The Draconian Empire had encountered them several times over the past decade, usually in brief skirmishes over territory or resources. They were remarkably resilient for such a young species, but hardly a match for the Empire's military might. "Maintain distance," he ordered. "Continue scanning. I want to know everything about that vessel before we make contact." The mysterious cargo doctor Elena Vasquez floated in the zero-gravity laboratory aboard the human vessel Endeavor's Dream, carefully calibrating the quantum field generators that hummed softly around her. The ship might look like a simple cargo freighter from the outside, but its interior housed some of the most advanced technology that humanity had ever developed. "Elena, we've got company," came the voice of Commander Sarah Chen through the comm system. "Draconian battlecruiser, and they're taking a very close look at us." Elena pushed off from the wall and glided toward the communication panel. "How close?" "Close enough to count our hull plates if they wanted to. They're running full-spectrum scans." Elena smiled despite the situation. If the Draconians were scanning them, they were seeing exactly what the humans wanted them to see: a harmless cargo ship with minimal defenses and a crew of perhaps 20 beings. They had no way of detecting the true nature of the Endeavor's Dream or its incredibly valuable cargo. "Are we ready to field test the new system?" Elena asked. There was a pause before Sarah responded. "The Phantom Protocol has never been tested. Under combat conditions, we're not even sure it will work." "Then I guess we're about to find out." Elena began powering up the experimental systems that had taken Earth's brightest scientists 5 years to develop. The Phantom Protocol was humanity's answer to a fundamental problem. How do you hide from enemies that have superior technology? The solution had come from an unexpected source: quantum physics and the strange properties of folded space-time. The Empire strikes back aboard the Crimson Talon. Zixtar was growing impatient. The human vessel had been sitting motionless for nearly an hour, neither responding to communications nor attempting to flee. Such behavior was unusual for any species, but particularly strange for humans, who were known for their quick reactions and desperate courage when cornered. "War Chief," Vexran announced, "I'm detecting some unusual energy fluctuations from the human ship. Power levels are increasing, but not in any pattern we recognize. Weapons charging? Negative, sir. The energy signatures don't match any known weapon systems. It's almost as if they're folding space around themselves. Zixtar's eyes widened. Space folding technology was theoretical even for the Draconian Empire, despite their advanced understanding of physics. If the humans had somehow developed practical applications for such technology, it could change the balance of power in the galaxy. All weapons target that vessel, he commanded. We board it now before they can complete whatever they're attempting. The Crimson Talon's massive plasma cannons swiveled toward the human ship, while boarding pods prepared to launch. But before the Draconians could fire, something impossible happened. The human ship simply vanished, not destroyed, not departed, vanished. One moment it was there on all sensors, the next moment there was nothing but empty space. The Draconians' most advanced scanning equipment detected no trace of the vessel, no residual energy signatures, no debris field. It was as if the ship had never existed at all. "Report!" Zixtar roared, his claws extending involuntarily in frustration. "Unknown, sir," Vexran replied, frantically working his controls. "All sensors show negative contact. No energy trail, no jump signature, no indication of where they went. That's impossible. Ships don't just disappear." But the evidence was clear. Somehow the humans had developed technology that could make their vessels completely undetectable to Draconian sensors. The implications were staggering. The human advantage aboard, the now invisible Endeavor's dream, Commander Sarah Chen watched the Draconian battlecruiser through sensors that the enemy couldn't detect. The Phantom Protocol was working perfectly. The ship existed in a pocket of folded space-time that made it invisible to conventional detection methods, while still allowing its crew to observe the outside universe. "Remarkable," Dr. Vasquez said, as she monitored the field generators. "The quantum displacement is holding steady. We're essentially existing in a parallel dimension that overlaps with normal space." Sarah nodded, though her expression remained serious. "How long can we maintain this?" "The field generators can sustain the effect for approximately 6 hours before they need to recharge. After that, we'll be visible again." Through the sensors, they watched as the Draconian ship began an intensive search pattern, sweeping the area with every type of scanner they possessed. The massive battlecruiser moved with surprising grace, its crew clearly frustrated by their inability to locate the vanished human vessel. "They're going to bring in reinforcements," Sarah observed. "Once word of this gets out, every Draconian ship in the sector will be hunting for us." Elena adjusted her instruments, noting the stable quantum field readings. "Maybe that's not such a bad thing. The more ships they send, the more opportunities we have to test the system under different conditions." Sarah raised an eyebrow. "You want to antagonize the entire Draconian fleet?" "I want to gather data. This technology could change everything, Sarah. If we can perfect it, human ships could move freely through any territory, gather intelligence, conduct rescue operations. The possibilities are endless." On the main screen, they watched as the Crimson Talon transmitted what was obviously a priority communication to Draconian Command. Within minutes, the space around them would be crawling with enemy vessels, all searching for a ship they couldn't detect. The Empire's Response Admiral Marcus Webb received the coded transmission from the Endeavor's dream while reviewing tactical reports in his quarters aboard the Terran Defense Force flagship Humanity's Pride. The message was brief, but loaded with implications that made his coffee suddenly taste bitter. "Phantom Protocol successful. Draconian response escalating. Request support." Webb set down his cup and activated the secure communication system. Within minutes, he was connected to the highest levels of Earth's military command. "Gentlemen," he began, addressing the collection of admirals and generals who appeared on his screen, "our experimental stealth technology has just been field tested against the Draconian Empire. The good news is that it works. The bad news is that we may have just started a war." General Patricia Hawkins, Earth's defense coordinator, leaned forward. "Explain." "The Endeavor's dream successfully vanished from Draconian sensors using the Phantom Protocol. However, the enemy ship was a battlecruiser, which means they're already reporting the incident to their superiors. If the Draconians realize what we've accomplished, they'll either try to steal the technology or destroy it before we can use it effectively." How long before we can mass-produce the system? Asked Admiral Rodriguez from the Luna shipyards. Dr. Vasquez estimates at least 18 months for a working prototype that could be installed on military vessels. The current system is too large and power-hungry for anything smaller than a cruiser. General Hawkins drummed her fingers on her desk. 18 months is too long. If the Draconians mobilize their full fleet, we won't survive that long. What are our options? Webb had been expecting this question. We accelerate the testing program. Instead of running from the Draconians, we engage them. Every encounter gives us more data, more opportunities to refine the technology. You're talking about using our most advanced ship as bait, Admiral Rodriguez observed. I'm talking about turning our greatest weakness into our greatest strength. Humans have always been outnumbered and outgunned, but we've survived because we adapt faster than anyone else. The Draconians expect us to run or hide. Instead, we're going to do what humans do best. We're going to surprise them. The Gathering, Stormback in the Kepler 442 system. The space around the invisible Endeavor's Dream was rapidly filling with Draconian vessels. 3 more battle cruisers had arrived, along with a dozen smaller patrol ships and a massive dreadnought that served as the fleet flagship. War Chief Zixtar stood in the flagship's command center, studying tactical displays that showed absolutely no trace of the vanished human ship. Fleet Commander Drac Mol, a scarred veteran of countless campaigns, paced behind him like a caged predator. Tell me again how a simple cargo vessel disappeared from your sensors, Drac Mol demanded, his voice carrying the dangerous edge that had made him feared throughout the Empire. The human ship appeared to fold space around itself, Zixtar replied carefully. One moment our sensors detected it clearly, the next moment it was gone without a trace. Space folding is theoretical technology. Our best scientists have been working on it for decades without success. Then perhaps human scientists are better than we assumed. Drac Mol's eyes blazed with anger. Impossible. Humans are barely out of their planetary system. They've been spacefaring for less than 2 centuries. There's no way they could develop technology that surpasses the Empire. But even as he spoke, Drac Mol knew that underestimating humans had been a mistake that many species had made. The small, seemingly fragile beings had an annoying habit of accomplishing impossible things through sheer determination and creative thinking. What are your orders, Fleet Commander? Zixtar asked. Drac Mol studied the tactical display, his mind racing through possibilities. If humans had developed true stealth technology, it represented a threat to the Empire that couldn't be ignored. Such technology could allow human ships to strike anywhere, gather intelligence from any system, or even penetrate the Empire's most secure installations. We establish a perimeter around this entire system, he decided. Nothing gets in or out without our knowledge. If the human ship is still here, we'll find it. If it's escaped, we'll track it down. And when we do find it, we'll capture it intact. The Empire needs that technology. The test begins. Dr. Elena Vasquez monitored the quantum field readings as the Draconian fleet established their search pattern around the system. The Endeavor's Dream remained safely hidden in its pocket of folded space, but Elena knew they couldn't stay invisible forever. Sarah, she called to the bridge, we need to start the second phase of testing. The field generators are performing within normal parameters, but we need to know how the system handles movement and combat situations. Commander Chen's response was immediate. Absolutely not. We're surrounded by enough firepower to level a small planet. This isn't the time for experiments. This is exactly the time for experiments, Elena insisted. We'll never get another opportunity like this. The Draconians have committed their best ships to finding us, which means we're facing their most advanced sensor technology. If the Phantom protocol can fool these sensors, it can fool anything. Sarah was quiet for a moment, considering the risks. Elena was right. They might never get another chance to test the system under such demanding conditions. But the danger was enormous. If the stealth field failed while they were surrounded by enemy ships, the Endeavor's Dream and its crew would be destroyed in seconds. What did you have in mind? Sarah asked finally. We move closer to one of their battle cruisers. Close enough to conduct detailed scans of their technology while remaining invisible. If we can gather intelligence about their systems, we might be able to develop countermeasures. And if they detect us, then we learn what the limitations of our technology are. Either way, we gather valuable data. Sarah made her decision. Prepare for stealth reconnaissance, but the very moment our cover is compromised, we implement emergency protocols and get out of here. As the Endeavor's Dream began to move through folded space toward the nearest draconian vessel, neither the humans nor their enemies realized that this encounter would be remembered as the moment when the balance of power in the galaxy began to shift. The invisible ship approached its target, carrying with it the hopes and fears of an entire species. In the depths of space, surrounded by enemies who couldn't see them, the human crew prepared to take their next step into an uncertain future. Behind them, Earth waited for news of their success or failure. Ahead of them, the Draconian Empire's most powerful warship continued its futile search for a prey that was moving closer with every passing moment. The real test was about to begin. The human gambit into the dragon's den. The Endeavor's Dream drifted silently through folded space, moving closer to the Draconian dreadnought Empire's wrath. Commander Sarah Chen watched the massive warship grow larger on her screens, its dark hull bristling with enough weapons to destroy entire fleets. The ship was nearly 2 kilometers long, a monument to the Draconian Empire's military might and technological superiority. "Distance to target?" Sarah asked quietly. 500 meters in closing, replied Lieutenant Thomas Park, the ship's navigation officer. "The quantum field is holding steady, but I'm reading some unusual energy fluctuations from their ship. Doctor?" Elena Vasquez looked up from her instruments with excitement. "Those aren't fluctuations. They're active sensor sweeps using technology I've never seen before. The Draconians are using some kind of quantum resonance scanner." Sarah felt her stomach tighten. "Will it detect us?" "Unknown. The physics involved are beyond anything in our database. We're in uncharted territory here." Through the stealth field, they could see the dreadnought's crew working frantically at their stations. The ship's external sensors rotated slowly, sweeping space in precise patterns while smaller probe ships launched from its docking bays to expand the search grid. "They're being very thorough," observed Lieutenant Park. "I count 37 different scanning frequencies plus visual spectrum searches and gravitational wave detectors." Elena's instruments chimed softly. "I'm picking up their internal communications. Our translation software is working on it now." Within moments, the bridge speakers filled with the harsh, guttural sounds of the Draconian language. The translation came through seconds later, the computer-generated voice maintaining the urgent tone of the original speakers. "Fleet Commander, we've completed scans of sectors 7 through 12. No trace of the human vessel. Expand the search pattern. They cannot have gone far. No known propulsion system could have moved them beyond our sensor range in such a short time. Sir, what if they were destroyed, some kind of self-destruct mechanism? Impossible. We would have detected debris, energy signatures, something. The ship simply vanished, which means they have technology we don't understand." Sarah exchanged glances with Elena. They were listening to the enemy's most senior commanders, gathering intelligence that could prove invaluable to Earth's defense forces. But they were also learning something troubling about Draconian capabilities. The Dragon's Secret Fleet Commander Drakmal stood in the Empire's Wrath's Strategic Command Center, surrounded by holographic displays showing every corner of the Kepler 442 system. His scaled face showed no emotion, but internally he was deeply concerned. The disappearance of the human vessel represented a threat to the Empire that he was only beginning to understand. "Status report," he commanded. War Chief Zixtar approached, his massive frame moving with predatory grace. 43 ships now participate in the search. We have established sensor nets throughout the system and deployed gravity wave detectors at all major gravitational bodies. If the human ship moves anywhere within 10 million kilometers, we will detect it. And if their stealth technology is more advanced than we assumed? Zixtar's amber eyes gleamed. Then we implement Protocol 7. Drakmal nodded grimly. Protocol 7 was the Empire's most closely guarded military secret, a weapon system so powerful that its mere existence was known only to the highest levels of command. It had been used only once before during the Andromedian War, and its effects had been so devastating that the enemy had surrendered immediately. "Prepare the quantum disruptor," Drakmal ordered. "If we cannot find the human ship, we will force it to reveal itself." The counterstrike aboard the invisible Endeavor's Dream, alarms began sounding as Dr. Vasquez's instruments detected massive energy buildups throughout the Draconian fleet. "Sarah, we have a problem," Elena called urgently. "The dreadnought is powering up some kind of weapon system. Energy levels are off the charts." Commander Chen moved quickly to the science station. "What kind of weapon?" "I'm not sure, but the energy signature suggests they're manipulating quantum fields on a massive scale. If I had to guess, I'd say they're preparing to disrupt subspace throughout the entire system." Sarah's blood ran cold. If the Draconians could disrupt subspace, they might be able to collapse the folded space pocket that kept the Endeavor's Dream hidden. The ship would suddenly become visible in the middle of the enemy fleet. "How long do we have?" "Based on their power buildup rate, approximately 15 minutes before they can fire." Sarah activated the ship's communication system. "All hands, this is the commander. Prepare for emergency protocols. We may need to abandon stealth and run for it." But even as she spoke, Sarah knew that running might not be enough. The Draconian ships were faster and more maneuverable than the Endeavor's Dream. If they were detected now, surrounded by the enemy fleet, their only chance would be to implement the most desperate plan in their arsenal. "Elena, is the quantum cascade generator ready?" Dr. Vasquez looked up sharply. "Sarah, we agreed that system was too dangerous to use. The cascade effect could destabilize spacetime in a radius of several light years, and if we don't use it, the Draconians will capture our technology and use it against Earth. Sometimes you have to choose between bad options and worse ones." Elena stared at her friend and colleague for a long moment, then began activating the cascade generator. The device had been installed as a last resort, a weapon so powerful that it could theoretically tear holes in reality itself. Earth scientists had built it based on theoretical physics that they didn't fully understand, hoping they would never need to use it. The revelation, as the Endeavor's Dream prepared for its desperate gambit, the ship's sensors detected something unexpected. A new signal was approaching the system, not Draconian, not human, but something else entirely. "Commander," Lieutenant Park called out, "we're detecting multiple vessels approaching from beyond the system's edge. Configuration unknown, but they're big. Really big." On the main screen, the shapes of enormous ships began to resolve themselves. They were unlike anything in the databases of either humans or Draconians, organic-looking vessels that seemed to grow rather than be built, with hulls that shifted and pulsed like living tissue. "Who are they?" Sarah whispered. The answer came through the ship's communication system, broadcast on all frequencies in a voice that seemed to resonate with harmonic overtones that shouldn't have been possible. "We are the gardeners. We have observed the expansion of both your species into this region of space. Your conflict threatens the balance we have maintained for millennia." Elena's instruments went wild as the alien ships entered the system. "Sarah, these newcomers are using technology that makes both our systems and the Draconians look primitive. They're manipulating space-time on a scale I didn't think was possible." The Greater Threat Fleet Commander Drakmal watched in amazement as the alien vessels approached his fleet. The Empire's Wrath's most advanced sensors could barely comprehend what they were seeing. The alien ships appeared to be partially phased out of normal space, existing in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Fleet Commander Zixtar reported, his voice tense with uncertainty. "The alien vessels are not responding to our communications. They're moving directly toward our position." "Weapons status?" "All systems ready, but sir, I'm not sure our weapons can effectively target something that exists in multiple dimensional phases." Drakmal studied the tactical display, his military mind rapidly analyzing the situation. The appearance of a third faction changed everything. If these gardeners were hostile, both the Draconian Empire and humanity might face extinction. "Open a channel to the human vessel," he ordered. "Sir, we still cannot locate them." "Then broadcast on all frequencies. If they're listening, they need to hear this." The fleet commander took a deep breath before speaking. Unknown human vessel, this is Fleet Commander Drakmol of the Draconian Imperial Navy. We have a situation that transcends our current conflict. I propose a temporary ceasefire to deal with this new threat. The unlikely Alliance Commander Sarah Chen stared at the communication panel in disbelief. The Draconian Fleet Commander was proposing an alliance, the same commander who had been hunting them for hours with enough firepower to glass a planet. It could be a trap, Lieutenant Park observed. Everything about this situation is a trap, Sarah replied. The question is which trap is more dangerous. Elena looked up from her readings. The alien ships, the Gardeners, they're interfering with quantum fields throughout the system. If they keep this up, our stealth field will collapse. Anyway, Sarah made her decision. Bring us out of stealth. Position us between the Draconian fleet and the alien vessels. Sarah, that's suicide. The moment we appear, they'll blow us apart. Not if they need us alive to deal with a bigger threat. The Endeavor's dream shimmered back into normal space, appearing directly in front of the Draconian dreadnought's main weapon systems. For a moment, Sarah thought they had made a fatal mistake as dozens of targeting systems locked onto their ship. But the Draconians held their fire. This is Commander Sarah Chen of the Terran vessel Endeavor's Dream, she broadcast. We accept your proposal for a temporary ceasefire. What do you know about these Gardeners? Fleet Commander Drakmol's image appeared on the main screen, a towering reptilian figure with intelligent eyes and battle scars that spoke of countless conflicts. Nothing. They are not in our databases, but any species that can manipulate. Space-time on this scale represents a threat to both our civilizations. As if responding to their conversation, the lead Gardener vessel transmitted another message. Your species have spread conflict to regions where conflict should not exist. You have disrupted the careful balance maintained across countless millennia. This cannot be permitted. The test of wisdom, Dr. Elena Vasquez studied the sensor readings from the Gardener ships with growing fascination and horror. Sarah, these beings aren't just using advanced technology, they're reshaping reality itself. The space around their ships is being rewritten at the quantum level. What does that mean for us? It means they could erase us from existence without effort. Both our species are like insects compared to their capabilities. On the tactical display, the Gardener vessels continued their approach, their organic hulls pulsing with energy that defied comprehension. Smaller ships, if they could be called ships, detached from the main vessels and began conducting what appeared to be detailed scans of both the human and Draconian forces. Fleet Commander Drakmol's voice came through the communication system. Human Commander, our scientists believe the Gardeners are preparing to implement some kind of containment protocol. They may be planning to isolate this entire system. Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. Isolated how? Unknown. But if they can manipulate space-time as our sensors suggest, they might be able to remove this system from normal space entirely. Elena looked up from her instruments with alarm. He's right. I'm detecting massive gravitational distortions forming around the system's edge. It's like they're building a barrier to separate us from the rest of the galaxy. The implications were staggering. If the Gardeners could isolate entire star systems, they had the power to effectively destroy civilizations by cutting them off from the rest of the universe. The human solution, as the situation grew more desperate, Sarah Chen did what humans had always done when faced with impossible odds. She began thinking creatively. Elena, the Phantom Protocol technology, could we use it to hide not just our ship but something larger? Theoretically, yes. But we'd need massive amounts of power and multiple field generators working in perfect synchronization. What are you thinking? I'm thinking that maybe the Gardeners aren't evil. Maybe they're just trying to prevent our conflict from spreading. What if we could prove to them that humans and Draconians can cooperate? Fleet Commander Drakmol had been monitoring their communications. You propose an alliance between our species? I propose survival, Sarah replied. The Gardeners are clearly far more advanced than either of us. If they see us as a threat to galactic stability, they'll eliminate us. But if they see us as capable of growth and cooperation, they might allow us to continue existing. Drakmol finished the thought. Elena's eyes lit up with understanding. Sarah, We could combine our quantum stealth technology with draconian power systems and sensor arrays. Create a joint research project that demonstrates interspecies cooperation. Would such a thing be possible? Dracmol asked. Unknown, Sarah admitted. But it's better than waiting for the gardeners to decide our fate for us. The gambit. The next several hours saw something unprecedented in the history of both species. Genuine cooperation between humans and draconians. Teams of scientists and engineers worked together via holographic communication, combining their knowledge to create something neither species could have achieved alone. The result was a modified version of the Phantom Protocol that could theoretically shield entire fleets from detection. It required both human quantum manipulation technology and draconian power generation systems, making it impossible to use without cooperation between the two species. As they worked, the Gardner vessels completed their containment barrier around the system. The space beyond the system's edge became a shimmering wall of distorted reality that no ship could penetrate. "We're trapped," Lieutenant Park observed. "No," Sarah corrected. "We're being tested." The lead Gardner vessel transmitted one final message. "You have created something together that neither species could create alone. This suggests potential for growth beyond your current limitations. The barrier will remain until you prove that such cooperation is not merely temporary." Fleet Commander Dracmol appeared on the main screen once more. "It appears we are to be neighbors for the foreseeable future, Commander Chen." Sarah smiled, the first genuine smile she had felt in days. "Then I suggest we make the best of it, Fleet Commander. Earth and the Empire have a lot to learn from each other. The new beginning." 6 months later, the Kepler 442 system had been transformed into something neither species had ever imagined. A joint research facility where humans and draconians worked side by side to explore the mysteries of the universe. The Phantom Protocol had evolved into something far more sophisticated than its creators had envisioned. Combined with draconian technology, it allowed for the creation of mobile research stations that could explore dangerous regions of space without being detected by hostile forces. Dr. Elena Vasquez stood in the joint laboratory aboard the newly constructed Station Harmony, watching human and draconian scientists collaborate on projects that would have seemed impossible just months earlier. Commander Sarah Chen, now promoted to Admiral, entered the lab with news from Earth and the Draconian homeworld. "Both governments have agreed to expand the joint research program," she announced. 12 more systems have been designated as cooperative research zones. Elena smiled. "The gardeners will be pleased. Speaking of which, have we heard from them recently?" "They sent a message yesterday. Apparently, our success here has impressed them enough that they're considering contact with other species in the galaxy. It seems humans and draconians aren't the only ones who could benefit from learning cooperation." Through the laboratory's viewing ports, they could see the shimmer of the barrier that still surrounded the system. No longer a prison, but a symbol of what could be achieved when different species chose cooperation over conflict. The war that had seemed inevitable just months ago had become the foundation for a new kind of peace. And in the depths of space, other species watched and wondered if they too might find ways to work together instead of fighting. The Phantom Protocol had done more than make ships invisible. It had made visible the possibility of a future where the galaxy's children could grow up together rather than growing apart. The real test had never been about technology. It had been about wisdom, cooperation, and the willingness to see beyond the boundaries of species and culture, to find common ground among the stars. And humanity, as always, had found a way to surprise everyone, including themselves.